Welcome back, everybody. This is Brothermutant here. First, let me apologize for not posting anything sooner than this past week. I have been working on several Sword Saint builds just to kind of tweak stuff out. I decided to put it on paper and then, of course, put it on these slides for you guys to understand what I'm attempting to do. Also been playing City of Heroes for a whole 5 hours one day before they decided to close it back down again. And while that sucks, I did actually get to play it again, and that did make me smile all day long. So, for those of you that don't know, I'm a big City of Heroes fan. I was a fan for many, many years. Paid a subscription every month to play the game, and then they just shut us down about 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully it comes back again, but we shall see. Or at the very least, a successor would make me happy. Anyway, let's talk about this game. Here is a Sword Saint build, 3 of them. We do a Purist Sword Saint, so literally 1 to 20 Sword Saint. 2 of other builds are multi-class builds and heavy dipping. Not even a dip, so much as a huge ass splash into either Vivisectionist for 8 levels or Eldritch Scoundrel for 8 levels. And that is important for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into. First, let's go with the brace. Since we're going to have to maximize intelligence and dex to get some decent armor, Tiefling makes the most obvious sense. +2 to both of those categories is a straight Tiefling. Penalty to Charisma, which we will level off. We get a bonus to Bluffs for persuasion checks. We get a bonus to Stealth, which we don't particularly care about, but it's there. We do have DR resistance 5 against cold, electric, and fire. And that fire protection will be helpful early on for those bastards that do Fire Belly and spit out 1d4 damage in a cone to you. You'll be immune to it, and all your allies, all your enemies that are near you will be taking damage because it is a cone. So line it up right and let the bastard burn his friends off. We do get Resist Energy, spell-like ability to cast once per day, which will be extremely useful, especially for the Sword Saint Purist build, since they don't have access to it, outside of a scroll or gear or a potion. But being able to cast it once a day, certainly at beginning levels, will be extremely helpful as well, since we don't have any acid or sonic protection built into this build yet. Our starting stats will be Strength 11, Dex 15 +2 to bring it up to 17, Con 12, Intelligence 17 with a +2 from being a Tiefling as well, bringing it to 19. Wisdom of 10, Charisma starts at 8, we level it off at 10 with 2 points here. That's what we start at. The 17 for Dex is important so we can do improved 2-weapon fighting. We're never going to invest any more points in Dexterity. All our points are going to be dumped into Intelligence, and this is why we get back to why we wanted at least 12 levels of Sword Saint in this build. Sword Saint at level 1 has an ability that literally lets you turn your intelligence bonus into dodge armor class. What that means is for every point that you have in your intelligence bonus and for every matching level of Sword Saint, so for a +1 intelligence bonus and 1 level of Sword Saint, you would get 1 dodge. For this build right now, you see at the highest level, we're going to have a +7. Well, that would mean that if we had at least 7 levels of Sword Saint, we'll get a +7 to dodge. No more, because we don't have any more bonuses. Well, this is where it gets tricky. We know with metagaming, of course, that there is gear in the game that gives us a +8 to intelligence. That would give us another +4. +4 and +7 then makes +11. Well, then again, why did we go 12? Well, again, 2 reasons. One is because I can also push that +11 to +12. There is a potion in the game that will level up all your physical and mental stats +2 permanently. So that now pushes us back to a an intelligence of 34, which is a +12 bonus. So 12 levels of Sword Saint matching with the +12 bonus. Again, pie in the sky dreaming that you get this. You would literally have +12 dodge as a result of that, as high as I can push it. Well, I can push it a little higher. Vivisectionist could go Cognitigen and therefore push the intelligence another +4. But it's really not worth it. And you throw your strength into the toilet, and it's just doesn't seem worth the effort to me. But we still go Vivisectionist or Eldritch Scoundrel on these other builds for reasons that involve sneak attack damage as well as spell access, and that's going to be important here too. All of these, of course, carry off of intelligence scores. Every attack we're going to do, since we're going to go weapon finesse, will carry off of our dexterity scores. So again, having it be 17 is actually pretty nice. And the Vivisectionist gets that extra bump of the mutagen, which can push that another +4, which stacks with any gear that bumps your dexterity as well. So again, the Vivisectionist is kind of pulling in the lead here, and the fact that it does 5d6 of damage by the end of the build, whereas the Purist Sword Saint doesn't have any of that, and the Eldritch Scoundrel dipping Sword Saint has 3d6, 5d6 if they cast a spell, but that only lasts for a short period of time. So you see the Vivisectionist is pulling ahead in damage potential as far as I'm concerned. We'll get to the math in that here in a moment. First, let's talk about the spells that each class has. So this isn't the entire list. Notice that we have level 1 through 6 spells. As the Purist, we will get level 6 and level 5 spells. This is how many spells per day you would get at the highest intelligence that you can build into this build, which is 24. So no gear, no buffs of any other kind. So we have 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5, and that's per day. So literally less than 40. If we do the potion, the +2, you see we get another bump here from 5 to 6. If we add that +8 helmet or +8 hat of, was it +8 to intelligence, +8 to wisdom, +8 to charisma, you don't need that one, but I'm just saying if you did, you have that one, which is of course amazing, then you would increase the stats, as you can see here, to 777, 766. That's 40 spells per day. Okay, now again, you have to chug the potion, which is a permanent buff, that's late in the game. The hat, or the +8 gear anyways, reasonably late in the game, but you can work towards it is what I'm telling you. But that's a lot of spells a day, right? That's not bad. And remember, that will get you the +12 armor class bonus. Remember, you're a level 20 sword saint, but you can't get your intelligence to 50 in this game as far as I can tell you. So 34 is about as high as I can reasonably push it. That's pretty cool. Now here's some spells that I think that are important for this particular class. Notice we have the touch attacks, which you, as a sword saint, would like to channel through your weapon, presumably. Corrosive touch, shocking grasp, frigid touch, and of course vampire touch over here. We also want to talk about ray spells because that's going to become important when we talk about the Vivisectionist and the Eldritch Scoundrel potential builds for reasons that I'll get to in a bit. But Rave, Enfeeblement, Snowball, Acid Arrow, Scorching Ray are all ray spells. We didn't mention these ones down here, the Disintegrate, Hellfire Ray, or Umbral Strike. They are ray spells, but the other builds won't have access to them because they don't get level 5 and 6 spell progression, because we're only going 12 levels of Sword Saint in those other builds. So it would stop here at level 4. That's why I didn't label them. These are great spells, mind you, and Source Transformation is great, so is Acid Spray. You know I love my Sirocco. So these are really good spells that we are going to be missing out on, not counting scrolls and wands and shit like that. But by and large, that's going to be a thing. Notice that we have penalties to things like we will not have Lore Nature or Religion access in this build. We also won't have access to things like, I want to say, Mobility and Trickery and Stealth. So there's quite a few things we will not have as class skills if we go Purist. That's going to be a thing. If we go 12 Sword Saint, 8 something else, again, just to reiterate, here's your spells you're going to have access to. Nothing in 5 and 6. Here's the 1 through 4, again, the same spells. And again, I underline ones that I suggest as decent replacements or spells that you would want daily. Right? Reduced Person, you are a dex-based build. This not only would increase your dexterity +2, and it's not an enhancement, it is because of size, so it would stack, for example, with Cat's Grace, or a belt of plus whatever for dex. So that would still be valuable. Also, you get a +1 to your swing, because you're smaller and it's easier to hit the larger targets. You also get a +1 to your swing because you're dexterity based, and you have a +2 to dex now, so you get a +2 to your swing, you get a +2 to your armor, you get a +2 to your dex. And, you know, this does not stop being good. Yes, you get a penalty to strength, but again, it's a -2. It's not that big a deal. You can offset that with a belt or a spell or whatever. But that's still pretty baller to have that spell. There's other stuff in here, of course, your buffs, your moving faster, grease spell is always a classic. But look at how many spells per day you get in this minor caster level 12 build. 6, 6, 5, and 3 just from leveling it up. Then with the potion, you get another one here and another one there, by the way. And then you also get, oh wait, sorry. You don't get another one there. I'm looking over here to here. You get another one here at this point, so 3 becomes 4. So you get one more spell at level 4. Ooh, ring-a-ding-ding. But you put that magic hat on, and now you get 1, 2, 3, 4 more spells now because of this. That's 25 spells per day with just this spell book. Remember, you have another whole spell book to go through. That's either Vivisectionist or Eldritch Scoundrel. So that's going to be important. Here's our Vivisectionist if we go 8 levels. These are just some of my favorite spells, not all of them. And again, it doesn't matter. You're going to scribe them all. Find out which spells they would have access to at level 1, 2, and 3. Make sure to scribe them in your book so you have them and you can decide for yourself what's good. Yes, Cure Light Wounds is in here, but I'm rarely going to use it. But it's a possibility if you really just want to make sure you always have that random heal. You never know. Could come in handy. But they're ones that are unique to just Vivisectionist, and that Eldritch Scoundrels or Sword Saint do not have access to are highlighted here with the asterisk. So again, you'll see spells like Resist Energy. The Sword Saint doesn't have it, but the Eldritch Scoundrel does. So that's why it doesn't have the star. Okay. Same with Protection from Arrows. But another really amazing spell that Sword Saints don't get. Notice we get self buffs for all the character traits. So your physical ones, which of course these guys had access to, the Sword Saints. But now we also get the bonus to Intelligence, Wisdom, to Charisma if we so choose. That's the thing here. Same with the Eldritch Scoundrel. They will have access to all 6 buffs, not just the 3. And that's important to me. Notice we get Shield, we get True Strike. These ones are amazing because it doesn't matter what caster level you are for True Strike. You just cast it and you use it. Done. So you can keep a pocket full of these bad boys ready to rock and roll when you really need to hit that target. Nothing wrong with that. You get 6 to 7 of them a day of whatever level 1 stuff we're talking about. Of course, you have Reduced Person over here, Expeditious Retreat, Shield Spell, other ones that you would have used on this side. But now I can start focus on things like Shocking Grasp or Snowball or Corrosive Touch or Magic Missile. You get the idea. This could be my combat spells. This could be my defense or my buff spells. There we go. So that's, again, an idea. From this side, level 2, we have Aid and Barkskin, again, unique spells. And while Barkskin will be subpar, caster level 8 won't get us the full +5, you'll eventually find gear that surpasses it. But until that time, wouldn't you like to have a +2 or +3 to your natural armor class enhancement? You know, I would. Aid, again, is a buff to your attack as well as your hit points, short term, but decent. Blur, of course, is a classic, which we had on the other spell book as well. False Life is some nice hit point bumps for hours. Delay Poison, not as necessary as you think. It is unique, but we can always scribe a scroll, put it in here and have it that way. We can always just cast it from a scroll, chug a potion. They last for a long period of time, so it's not really necessary. And as a Vivisectionist at levels 2, 5, and 8, you get a +2 to your Fortitude saves against poison, which is an immunity, I'll grant you, but it's +2, +4, then +6 added to a Fortitude save already. That's pretty good. You know, you have a pretty good chance in avoiding many things like poison, I would say. But it's there. Notice we have Invisibility, and I don't even want to talk about it because Vanish is just as good in my opinion. Invisibility lasts longer, but that's only if you want to, you know, like scour the area in advance, hidden, and not attack anything. That could be a thing, but I have yet to have enough of a stealth bonus with this and any stealth that I've added to my character to not be noticed by any of the bad guys. I always get spotted. So, doesn't seem to be the best idea. If you're going to use it, you'd probably be better off using the Vanish over here at level 1 versus something that's taking a 2nd level slot. But we do get things like Protection from Arrows, which again is an amazing spell. Resist Energy, it's not necessary, but you can scribe it, slap it in there. Lesser Restoration is certainly useful, and so is Seeing Viz. Level 3, again, you got your cure spells like always, but Displacement and Haste. Now you get Heroism, and while it's not unique to Vivisectionist, Sword Saints don't have access to it. Eldritch Scoundrel does. So, the Eldritch Scoundrel has this ability, but that's a +2 to your swing. +2 to a bunch of stuff, matter of fact. You also get Protection from Energy, not of energy. That's a typo. But, again, the Eldritch Scoundrel would have access to it. Again, the Sword Saint would not. So these are really good buff spells. And why do I keep mentioning that? If you want to use this as a buff bot from this side of things, and then use their 12 caster level Sword Saint spells from 1 through 4 to do damage, which is what I would suggest, you would think these are going to be subpar because you're caster level 8. They will not last as long, Brothermutant. Well, yeah, that's true. But look at a couple things here. One, Barkskin's unique. You didn't have access to that, and that lasts for a good long while, even at caster level 8. It's like 10 minutes per caster level, right? Protection from Arrows is an hour-long buff per caster level, if I'm not mistaken. Resist Energy is like 10 minutes per level. Lots of really good stuff in here. But let's just go a little further. For the ones that do match up, like say Shield, Reduced Person, and Expeditious Retreat would be spells you'd like to have on your build. Why wouldn't you? You run faster if you need to get the hell out of there. You have extra armor, as we mentioned before, extra bonus to hit, extra damage because we're actually going to do extra damage based on our higher dexterity, so that's going to be even more damage output for you. Minor, but it's there. And then, of course, you have nice little armor bump from the shield, right? Because you can't carry a shield and do what you're going to do in this build. But let's look at that then. I have 6. Let's just round up and get all the way to the full 7. Let's pie in the sky dream. We have 7 spells a day. What am I going to slot here? Let's do 2 of each of these things. 2 Reduced Person, 2 Expeditious Retreat, and 2 shield spells. That leaves me one more spell to just pick whatever the hell I want. Cure Light Wounds, sure. True Strike in case you need it, why not? Don't pick the bombers or the targeted bomb mixtures. They don't work on this build. You don't have bombs. And even if you were to chuck Acid Flask and Alchemist Fire, you still don't seem to get a bonus. So they are broken as far as I'm concerned, which is why the question mark. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep an Alchemist Flask, Acid Flask, or Alchemist Fire with you. You can do sneak attack damage with those flasks, by the way. Only on the main target, the AoE splash, they just take acid or fire damage as appropriate. But the guy that you hit with it, if it could have been sneak attack damage, it will do sneak attack damage. That's pretty baller, in my opinion. But we have 2 reduced persons, 2 Expeditious Retreat, 2 shield spells, and let's say True Strike, just to round it up, at the highest level. That's 8-minute buffs, right? Because these are 1 minute per caster level, and I'm caster level 8. So 8, 16, 16, 16 minutes of protection, right? Plus your True Strike ability. Well, why wouldn't I want to go Purist Sword Saint? Because if I was caster level 20 and I slotted those way back, here's our Purist one. I have access to Reduced Person, I have access to Expeditious Retreat, and I have access to Shield Spell. So I have all 3 of those spells that we're talking about, plus True Strike as well. And I could literally slot that 1, 2, 3 times, just 3 slots in True Strike for once. That's 4 slots. I have 7. I have 3 more spells to cast and do damage. And I get those 3 buffs, Reduced Person, Expeditious Retreat, and Shield, for 20 minutes. Brothermutant, you're screwing me over. No, I'm not, and here's why. A, I can cast Shield twice. What does that mean? In a combat, you cast your spells, you buff up in advance, you run around and do your thing. 8 minutes is a long time. 20 minutes is clearly longer, sure. And it's not 16 minutes. 20 is clearly better. But there's going to be time in between combats where you're just running around, checking stuff, doing things, putzing, basically, and you're burning off minutes or seconds of that shield spell, your Reduced Person spell, your Expeditious Retreat, or whatever we're talking about. That's wasted spell potential. And if you don't use that 20 minutes up effectively, this 8 minutes and then 8 minutes again when I need it again could be extremely valuable. That's what I'm saying. And if you don't believe me on that, well, that's a big stretch, because we're talking, again, 20 minutes versus 16 minutes. Remember something else. I got those on these spells here, and I did not touch these 7 that I'm getting here. Whereas I would have to use from this 7, 4 spells to equal or exceed what I just gave you, which gives me only 3 spells then to attack with at level 1. Whereas now, I can use all these 7 to be Shocking Grass, Shocking Grass, Shocking Grass, or whatever I want from this pool multiple times. Yeah, hell, I can even throw in another shield spell if I want to for caster level 12, just because, why not? But I don't have to, is my point. And if that doesn't impress you, look at this. Go down here to level 3. We're going to skip past level 2 because it's unique stuff in here besides our good stuff, right? But Displacement and Haste are amazing spells. We can all agree on this. Yes, I would like to use them probably on this side at caster level 20 versus caster level 12. But again, this guy's only getting 7 castings of them in a day. So if you do Displacement once, Haste once, that's a 20 round buff for each of them, right? 1 round per caster level, 20 rounds because you're caster level 20. That's great. I can't argue anything about that. And that gives us 5 more vampiric touches or fireballs or whatever else we want to do, right? Cool. Again, I get it. Here, I only get 6 castings a day, and I'm not going to waste them on these 2 spells. I'll get Fireball. I'll get Vampiric Touch, Slow, whatever. Why? Because over here, if I use them, A, it's not wasting any damage potential from my other side, and I can get 5 spell castings. Let's grab 2 Displacement, 2 Haste, and 1 Heroism, which lasts a lot longer, okay? Just for instance. The Heroism is a buff that you didn't get on the other side. Let's just discount that because, again, that's cool, but it's not what we're building for. Displacement and Haste was what we were talking about. 8 rounds, because I'm caster level 8, right? But I have it twice, so I can be 16 rounds and 16 rounds. Again, yes, the other one that gets 20 is definitely better. Maybe, and I say maybe because of this. How often do you cast these spells before going into combat? You fight combat, and does it last the full combat? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it exceeds the combat. Well, again, you're just displaced and you're hasted for no good goddamn reason. Yes, you move maybe a little faster for a few rounds, but big deal. 20 rounds is a long time. If you're fighting for 20 rounds, even solo, that's still a pretty gnarly fight. This one here has more flexibility. Yes, it's not 16 rounds, not 20, but I can do 8, go in, do battle. If I need to reapply it, I reapply it, and then keep going for that full 16. If I don't need it, or the fight's closing up and there's no need for me to recast it, I'll just beat them to death and then save the other 2 castings for the next fight, which could be a minute down the corridor or a half an hour down the corridor as I explore. You see what I'm saying? This is why, to me, this build is helpful. Not best, but decent. Right? Again, spells that we didn't have access to, extra spells a day, and again, at maximum, we get 19 a day here, we get 25 here at maximum. You add those together, that's 44 spells a day versus your 40 here. Yes, I would have rather have had these 12 level 5 and this level 6 spells, sure. But the point is, it's still valid build. And the fact that we're getting sneak attack damage is going to be really, really nice, because in my opinion, Sword Saints jive on melee combat. Yes, they can cast spells. Yes, they can do magical damage. We've all seen it before. But they really are a fighter class. The fact that they get less spells a day compared to the other magi is kind of proof of that, right? Let's go to the other build. This is the Eldritch Scoundrel. Here's our Eldritch Scoundrel. Again, ray spells, touch attack spells are all going to be important. We'll talk about that later. It's the same exact spell book, by the way, as the Sword Saint, plus some extras. Right? So there's going to be some things that are unique to them compared to the Sword Saint. And again, in asterisks, Mage Armor being a classic, Hurricane Bow being useful, Protection from Alignment being one, and again, unique in that you don't see these even on the Vivisection build. But again, the Vivisectionist has protection from arrows, so does Eldritch Scoundrel, but the Sword Saint does not. See, invisibility, Sense Vitals is unique. We get Scorching Ray, but it's going to be subpar because caster level 8 is just 1 level or 2 levels. Oh, sorry, taking that back, 3 levels, because we need to be caster level 11 to get that extra ray. So we're only getting 2 of 3, but still, that's still decent damage. 46 and 46, that's 8d6 of damage. We get a subpar Bone Shaker, Burning Arc is useful, especially as an AoE attack early on. Frigid Touch is always just as good as it is out of the box as it is when you're level 20, so the fact that we can cast it is pretty baller. And again, we get some more utility out of spells that we did not see in the Sword Saint side of things. Battering Blast, again, another ray spell, and I only mention it, it's really subpar, but so it's 46 of damage, plus 1 if you're doing it at point blank range, which will be a thing, which you'll see here in a moment. But it does that knockback ability, which is kind of interesting. And again, we still see things like Displacement, Haste, Heroism, other spells that are useful, Protection from Energy. Hell, we got extra Fireball spells. Yes, they're subpar, but it's still extra damage. The Vampire Touch is there, but again, it's really subpar. Only 46 of damage. This one here will only do 66 of damage versus the 10d6, which the Purist will get. Notice that we're missing out on Lore Nature or Lore Religion on this Eldritch Scoundrel side of things. So that's going to be a thing again. So you're not going to get that nice skill bonus plus 3 to all your stats. This is going to be something you have to deal with. And even the Purist Sword Saint is the worst of all these 3. Because we're cross-dipping, we actually have access to stuff that we would normally not have access to, like Stealth, Trickery, or Lore Nature, or whatever. So let's actually look at some of the feat picks here. Here's a Purist build. More or less happy with it. Things can get shuffled around a little bit, but there's many things that, especially if you see an asterisk, that's picked as soon as we can get it, and therefore I would not mess with those, because those are good for a reason. But here's some stuff that to point out. So Sword Saint, we're going to do weapon focus. We're actually going to focus on Kukri. We get this for free as your chosen weapon. Pick something. I pick Kukri because we know there's a bunch in the game. Yes, I know this is metagaming. There's a bunch in the game, and they're really, really good. And they're easy to use with weapon finesse, and they're really good when you 2-weapon fight with them. Thank you, Knock Knock, for showing me the blessing of the Kukri. We're stealing your shit. But Kukris are really nice because they have that high crit range potential as well. 18, 19, and 20, which we will improve to a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, thanks to improved... Where'd he go? improved critical kukri, which again is going to be baller. Now, we will get to weapon fighting. It's not necessary we get it this early on, so blind fighting can make its appearance sooner. Flashing grace, if you can move it up, you go ahead. But by and large, 2-weapon fighting is a must, and eventually we're going to get improved 2-weapon fighting with he'll appear. And that's so that we can get 5 attacks in a round with a kukri in each hand. Why would we do this? Because you really can't cast spells this way, not effectively. But this is when you run out of spells or when you've buffed up for the fight. Time to switch to the 2 badass kukris you had and go to town. Because you are a fighter. This is what you're basically building on. The fact that you fight with kukris. You will be baller with them, with this specific type of build. We have arcane accuracy for a random pick that you'd have to pick as a magus. I figured why not? By the time everything's said and done, we'll get a plus 12 to our intelligence bonus. What that does is if we activate this power, this feat pick, every time we activate it, for 1 combat round, we have a plus 12 to every swing in that round. That's pretty badass. It's not amazing. It's not like we'd cast True Strike on ourselves and it lasted for every attack. True Strike doesn't. It only is the first attack. But it's the same duration, 1 combat round. And I can see swinging 5 times more accurately being pretty damn cool. But you do not have to pick this. That's why I bring it to your attention. We have to get weapon finesse because we are a finesse-based build. So we get that as soon as possible. That's our free, or all free. That's our first feat pick. Other things to point out is while we do not have any sneak attack damage, because we are a purist sword saint, we do have other ways to buff our weapon that does flame damage, electric damage, cold damage. 1 of each if you really so choose. And that's 1d6, 1d6, and 1d6. If they're susceptible to that damage for every hit with that kukri, we're doing 1d6 of damage times 3. That's like 3d6 of sneak attack damage where it's guaranteed damage, is what I'm basically telling you. Because you don't even have to sneak attack to hit it with that. You just have to hit the bastards. So that's not bad. But we can also do that on the other builds too, so it's not that great either. The difference being is we could probably Enduring Blade it on this build, and therefore make those minute-long buffs turn into 20-minute-long buffs, right? So that is a little different. And it is kind of cool. So that's kind of a neat thing to mention. Prescient Attack is something that you should pick up at the first available opportunity, and this really is here, so it should have an asterisk next to it, but it really is as soon as possible. The reason for this is for the other builds, Prescient Attack basically takes away their dodge bonus and their dexterity bonus, right? That's basically the same as calling them flat-footed. For the sneak attackers, that means they can do sneak attack damage to those. Again, assuming they're susceptible to sneak attack, that's a thing. For this build, the reason it's important is because A, it makes it easier to hit the target, because who the hell wouldn't want to do that for 1 combat round? But B, when we get to lethal focus, if they're flat-footed, we can add our intelligence modifier to our damage output with our favorite weapon, which in this case is 2 kukris, 1 in each hand. So every time we hit them, we're doing an extra 12 points of damage. Boom, boom, 5 times in a combat round if we're lucky enough, just because we activated that once. It's pretty badass. That's almost like 2d6 of sneak attack damage where you're getting max sneak attack damage. Just saying. It's kind of cool. And we can get that without Prescient Attack by going greater invis and sneak attacking the shit out. Well, not sneak attack, sorry. It's not sneak attack. Lethal focusing them with our improved 2-weapon fighting and have all kinds of fun all day long. Just saying. It gets pretty baller from there. From there, since we figured you're going to be a weapon master, you might as well have weapon specialization kukri. That's a +2 to your damage for every kukri hit. We even went so far as to get greater weapon focus kukri in this build, so that's another +2. So we're actually doing +4 damage with our kukris every time we strike them. And that's not even sneak attack damage. That's just any time we hit them, +4 damage added to it. Pretty nice, right? From there, you get other things like we improve critical kukri, but all builds are going to get that. We get a speed weapon buff. That's just going to naturally show up, but again, all builds will get that. So instead of 5 attacks around, we could literally buff that first weapon in our hand, so we get another attack around for it. So instead of 5, now we're up to 6 attacks in a round with our kukris. Again, put the best one in your favorite hand, and then your second best in the run right next to it, right? But that's pretty badass. Ghost Blade is a decent pick here. It doesn't have to be, but this is the choice I picked. This one gives you not only Ghost Blade, but that Brilliant Energy one, where you buff your weapon. I figured if you're going to be a weapon guy, you might as well have the best weapon buffs. Notice why you have Bane Blade, and this will be something that this build gets, but none of the other builds do. Basically, anything that you see that's special from level 13 to 20 is not available on the other builds. Like Lethal Focus, Bane Blade, none of them can get greater weapon special. Well, They might be able to get that, but we did not get it. I'll take that back. They can't get Bane Blade. I don't think they can get Penetrating Strikes either, because that's a lock behind a wall of a specific BAB or specific fighter level, which this build gets, the other ones don't. Enduring Blade they could all get, but I picked it up late, and I don't think the other builds picked it up at all. Double Slice I think they can get. Point Blank Shot was the other choice. Perfect Reflexes is unique to this build though, so is Weapon Mastery, and this really drives it home. Yes, I know it's late in the game, but once you get level 20, Purist Sword Saint, the ability to guarantee that once you roll a crit that it will crit, period, is baller. And then you take that weapon damage, instead of it being ×2 for the particular weapon we're talking about, it becomes ×3 thanks to Weapon Mastery. That's huge. Remember that multiplicative crit range from ×2 to ×3 is not just the weapons damage, the 1d4 of the kukri. It's also your weapon specialization +2, your greater weapon specialization +2, so now that's +4 ×3, so that's 12 extra damage right there just because of those two feats and weapon mastery and critting. And then you throw in things like, where is it at? Slashing Grace Kukri, so the higher our dex is, the more damage we put out. That gets multiplied by 3. You get the point lethal focus if they're flat-footed. Our intelligence +12 that's added to every hit is multiplied ×3 on a crit. You see what I'm saying? This build can do some damage. So sure, then you should just pick the Purist build, Brothermutant. Why would you even think about these silly other two builds that you went crazy on? Let's look at them. Here's our Vivisectionist dip. Not even a dip, 8 levels. I did Sword Saint first. 2 levels of Vivisectionist just to get some sneak attack in early, because it will help, plus our mutagen, which is amazeballs. And the very last 6 levels will be the last 6 Vivisectionist levels that you can pick up. So we wanted to keep Sword Saint as fast as possible still, because we're actually going to do something slightly different. We're not only going to attack with our kukris, and we still get our improved 2-weapon fighting, very late, but we'll get it. We're going to attack with ray spells, point blank range. So we really need to get Point Blank Master Ray. Why is that? Because this guarantees that if we cast a ray spell at point blank range, that we will not provoke an attack of opportunity. Why is that important? Well, when we get to the damage, it will be important. But let's just trust me that this is something you're going to want on this build or the Eldritch Scoundrel build. And it's because of sneak attack, just to give you the heads up now. But let's look at this. Our weapon finesse is the same spot. Mutagen +4 to dex. Yes, please. Also a natural armor class bump for like +2, I think, for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes at this level. It doesn't get any better until we get to this level, and then it goes 30 minutes all the way up to 80 minutes. But still, definitely something to keep in your back pocket for those tough fights. Sneak die, it's going to be extremely helpful. Throw anything I don't particularly care about, but again, you can throw Acid Flask and Alchemist Flask for some sneak attack damage, so that's a thing. Accomplished Sneak Attacker. We get this because of our sneak attack die, so we get that. So now we're up to 2d6, and again, it won't be all the way until we get to 15 and higher that we get more. So get happy with the 2d6. Eventually you'll get to 5d6. We get some poison resist we mentioned before, +2, eventually another +2, and then another +2 after that. At the very end, that's a +6 to your fortitude saves for poison. Here is where you get the tricky part comes. The Vivisectionists, at every even level, they get that medical discovery, which is really weird things. In this instance, I suggest Extend Potion. It could be swapped out for a variety of other things. A fine example is a fast stealth. We could pick a lot of combat tricks, which is what we're getting down here. These 3 times are combat tricks. I could do Enhanced Potion, which basically turns our potion into whatever caster level we are as a Vivisectionist. Well, up here it's only 2 levels, so that's kind of sucky. But down here it's finally all the way up to level 8. So maybe by the end of the build it would be worth going Enhanced Potion. But Extend Potion basically just doubles the duration of any potion that has a duration. Poof. Just automatically. So, it's up to you which one you like more. I still haven't decided, that's why there's the question mark. Notice, we get Point Blank Shot, Precise Shot, Weapon Focus Ray, Weapon Specialization Ray as soon as we can get this one. And then now we get Point Blank Master Ray, really as fast as we can get it. We could get it here, but we need a weapon specialization here. Right? So this really is technically as fast as I can get this one in this particular build. That's okay. This is a really good ability. So we want it. We still get the Flame Electric Cold Weapon buff, Prescient attack as soon as I can get it in this build, which is a little late because of the Vivisectionist dip. But remember, this allows me now to do sneak attack damage on command. Again, assuming they're susceptible to it. That's always a thing. From there, other stuff to point out to you is we get critical focus before we get improved critical kukri. Why is that? Well, the reason for it is we really want to get blinding critical. The question mark here is because this is technically a mistake. The way you get blinding critical is you have to have critical focus. We got that. There's no problem there. Another requirement for blinding critical is you have to have a BAB of 15. You notice our BAB is actually plus 11. Plus 15 is down here. This is where I used to have it at the very level 20. And that could be the same again if they ever fix this. Why I say fix it is because it is a mistake. It says, as a Sword Saint, we have an ability that lets us treat our Sword Saint levels as BAB for intents and purposes of buying feats, which is going to be all well and good. But we do not have a Sword Saint level of 15. We have Sword Saint levels of 12. So why it's letting us pick it here, I do not know. Maybe that's just a typo then. They've just said it wrong, or maybe they meant character level for BAB, and that would be fine. That's probably why it's working. So if it works, get it early, because this will help you set up those sneak attack attacks a lot easier. You blind them with a critical hit, and then you sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack, and two-weapon fighting it while you're doing it all along the way, having all kinds of fun. But that's why that's there. Improved critical kukri then, of course, really allows you to hammer home them criticals, so good choice, of course, as soon as possible. Now we get two-weapon fighting, improved two-weapon fighting, and just have more fun from there. Notice how Slashing Grace, this gives us our dex bonus to damage, is way late. I just can't think of a way to put it in sooner, because I really want that sneak attack damage here. There's really nothing else that can be delayed, because we need it to get to this point-blank Master Ray. And yes, this could be delayed, Piranha Strike could be delayed, but that's a nice bump to damage as well. So it's up to you which one you want to shuffle around. This is basically how I built it. And at the end of it, I'll blind fight just to have it, because I always like it. It's way late in the build, though, so I really don't like that. But there's nothing I can do about it. Notice that this is how we focus on our skill picks. Perception, Trickery, Knowledge, Persuasion, and Lore Nature all get maxed in this build. And it's really nice that we can max that many things. Remember, it's a plus or 20 skill points in each of these is what I'm basically telling you. So it's 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 there. And then we have even enough to put a little bit in Athletics and Knowledge World, which are ones we have class skill in. But now let's look at Eldritch Scoundrel. This one actually, on paper, many ways, looks like it sucks compared to the others. Damage-wise and everything else, it just does not seem to be that interesting. I actually like this one almost more than the Vivisectionist one, and it seems weird. Let me explain why. So look at the picks here first. This would not actually be the way I'd build it. Now that I think about it, this one would probably be the thing I'd do first, would be Eldritch Scoundrel at level 1, then Sword Saint at level 2, then back to Eldritch Scoundrel for 3 more levels, and then it would proceed like normal. Reason for that is at level 1 we would get Weapon Finesse for free if we go Eldritch Scoundrel. We're not picking it up here, as you see. We're getting two-weapon fighting, which actually would not go here either. I'd probably move up point-blank shot, precise shot, and all that stuff. Anything else that could get moved up before this would get moved up. When it finally gets to the point where there's nothing else that I could pick, then I'd slap into weapon fighting, just so we're clear. But Weapon Finesse for free is really nice. Evasion for free at level 2 Eldritch Scoundrel is really nice. We get Finesse Training for our Kukri for free at level 3 Eldritch Scoundrel, which again is very nice. That's the same as Slashing Grace, by the way. Same exact effect. So we just get that for free. Baller. We finally get some sneak attack damage, finally, at level 4 here. And then we get Accomplished Sneak Attacker just to capitalize on that. But now look at this last part. This is why we go 4 levels of Eldritch Scoundrel early on. We can pick up Uncanny Dodge as a feat pick. Uncanny Dodge basically stops us from being caught flat-footed. Now, I'm sure that that's a lie, but more times than not, it should work. Remember that intelligence bonus we're getting to our armor class, that plus 12 magically by being a level 12 Sword Saint? Those can be negated by being flat-footed. The other builds do not have any way of preventing that other than making sure you have a really high initiative and attacking first. This one has a way around it because of Uncanny Dodge. We also get debilitating injury, so we can lower their armor class, or we can lower their chance to hit us, or we can make them slower by switching to one of these 3 toggles. Again, a really useful trick. I'd probably set it to the armor class penalty one, so it's easier for me to hit them, but it's up to you what to do. Notice we still go Weapon Focus Ray. Notice that we still go Precise Shot. Prescient Attack as soon as we can get it, which is extremely late, but we still pick it up as soon as possible. We get all the way to Weapon Specialization Ray and Point Blank Master Ray for that same reason you're about to see. And we get a variety of other things, but let's focus on the stuff that's Eldritch Scoundrel specific, okay? We have, where's it at? Sorry, I got to find the ES, there we go. We get things like Blinding Critical, just like we saw in the last build, much later, so 15, we get in at 17, but that's because there's really no good way to put critical focus sooner. This is as early as we can get it, because these ones were in the way. From there, of course, we get improved critical kukri much later. Blind Fighting again much later. We will get Ghost Blade, or since you do have spells that do damage, and so does the other side of your build, it's possible that Maximize Magic might be something of interest to you. Because that literally, you click it, the next spell you cast within that next combat round will do full maximum damage. It's kind of cool, and it's up to you to do that. So that'd be something that I would focus on, maybe. Notice we did Reach Magic over here instead of something like Arcane Accuracy or anything silly like that. It's not that you couldn't do those. The reason I suggest this is because you do have some extra spells, again as an Eldritch Scoundrel and as a Sword Saint, that are melee touch attacks, but we will see here in a moment that ray spells will do more damage for us. So why not turn those melee touch attack spells into extra damage by turning them into ray spells? We can do 3 of them in a day. So let's take that Shocking Grass that does 5d6 of damage and turn it into a ray spell that we do a point blank shot at, and we don't have any problem with that because we're a point blank master, and we'll do electric damage at point blank range. We'll get a bonus thanks to point blank shot, so +1, but so what? It's still there. Easier for us to hit, and we'll do sneak attack damage on it. And this is the reason we're going for Eldritch Scoundrel or Vivisectionist, by the way. I'm going to skip past that slide because that's just for me. But this one here is just to point out that there are spells that we're not getting access to if we dip into the other ones. A Purist gets these ones, and not just these, but these are some really good spells, really decent damage. You are missing out on quite a bit by not going a Purist. But I think that despite the fact that we're missing out on some serious good damage spells, the fact that we're getting extra spells a day, can buff up and still attack multiple times in a day and have sneak attack damage, kind of counters that in my opinion. Here's why. Here's a Shocking Grass spell. If we just take Shocking Grass and attack with it, not through our weapon, just attack. This is the damage output that we can expect if we're a Purist, if we have one of the dips. So this is the Sword Saint dip, casting it from his spell book. You'd still get the full 5d6. Hell, even if I cast it from my Eldritch Scoundrel spell book, I would do 5d6 of damage. The Vivisectionist doesn't have any attack spells, so you'll see that these are always 0 because he can't attack with his spells. He attacked from his spells on this side, which is what the numbers here represent. So we get full attack damage here is what I'm telling you. 5d6 for all 3 choices. There's a 5% chance to crit because it crits on a natural 20. If it crits, it does 2 times the damage, so the maximum crit damage we could expect would be 60 damage. But notice this. These 2 categories are capable of doing sneak attack damage with the electrical damage. So while this one can do 5d6 or technically 10d6 if it crits, these ones here do 5d6 or 8d6 or 10d6 on a natural hit, so long as it's a sneak attack hit. And this one here can do 5d6 or 8d6 on, again, a sneak attack hit, not a crit. So you see the difference here, is that these ones have statistically better damage output, so long as we can guarantee some sneak attack damage. And of course you would. You would do prescient attack, you would go greater viz. There's all kinds of ways for you to set up that sneak attack damage. So this one here looks good. These ones will definitely look better. Now, going through your weapon is an obvious way of doing things, because if it crits more often, which it definitely will, 30% chance the way we're building for it, then it's more likely to crit, and there that 5d6 suddenly becomes 10d6 again, right? For any of these categories, that's going to be a thing. But notice this, the sneak attack damage still is applicable, but only for weapon damage. And the reason for that is because we hit with the weapon, not with the spell. So this 18 to 30 will be weapon damage. This 18 will be weapon damage. Still damage, so who really cares? But if they're resistant to physical damage for whatever reason, like stone skins on them or something, and you don't happen to have adamantine kukri, which I don't even think exists in the game, then you're relying on your Shocking Grass to do the damage. it would almost be better for you to do Shocking Grasp as a sneak attack and not through the weapon. You see what I'm saying? The only real benefit would be that you're more likely to crit. That doesn't mean you will crit. So if you don't crit, that 5d6 is all you're getting. If you cast it this way, you shut off basically Spell Strike is what I'm telling you. Cast a spell, Shocking Grasp, touch them, and then swing with your melee weapon. That's still fine. You will still do sneak attack damage then on the Shocking Grasp. You will still do assuming it's applicable, of course. You will do sneak attack damage on the weapon hits, again, if it's applicable. But that's extra damage then that you're getting for each of your attacks. That's why Eldritch Scoundrel, that's why Vivisectionist is appealing to me. And the same is applicable for Frigid Touch, Vampiric Touch, and again, you get the idea. So what does this really boil down to? Let's look at some scenarios. So, if we have a Shocking Grasp, we're casting it through the Kukri. They all have a base attack bonus at level 20 of 15. That was key. Remember, we went in increments of 4 for a reason. That's why we did 8 levels of Vivisectionist, 8 levels of Eldritch Scoundrel. Remember, they have that 3 of 4 progression, just like the Purist Sword Saint does. So by going increments of 4, we're guaranteed to keep the spell or the BAB progression the same. That's why they all land on 15 at level 20. So they have the same chance, technically, of hitting the same number of attacks around. So we're going to ignore the other attacks around and just focus on one. The one that you're channeling your Shocking Grasp through. So we Shocking Grasp, and then we strike with our Kukri. And all 3 of these can do this. So here's the electrical damage on average, 17.5. It does not change between the builds. Kukri damage is 1d4 for a normal Kukri. So that's 1d4, so it's 1 and 4 is 5, so cut that in half, would be 2.5 on average. So why does it say 10.5 here and 14.5 there? Well, you also have increases to your bonus damage per hit. Things like Piranha Strike. Give it 8, 8, and 8. That's why this is 10.5 and this is 10.5. Well, why is this one 14.5? Weapon Specialization gives it +2. Greater Weapon Specialization gives it another +2. That's why this one's 14.5. So that's my math here. On average, for a Shocking Grasp Kukri hit, not counting crits, this one would do 32 damage on that first hit. These would do 28 and 28. Not that different, but he's clearly the winner, the Purist Sword Saint. If the target is flat-footed, look how this changes. The electric damage is still the same. Nothing changes there. The weapon damage changes for this one. 14.5 versus 26.5. That's a difference of 12. Why? Remember our bonus to intelligence, that +12? If the target's flat-footed, we get to add that to the weapon strike damage. So that's why +12 here. So that number jumped up considerably because of that one ability. It's pretty baller, right? That's lethal focus, I think is what it's called. So that's pretty cool. Being flat-footed is one of the ways to set up sneak attack damage, though. So watch these guys. Say they do their same electrical damage. Their weapon damage doesn't change. It's 10.5 and 10.5, but now we get to add in their sneak damage on that weapon strike. 17.5 for this guy on average, for the Vivisectionist, and the Eldritch Scoundrel only does 3d6, and therefore it does 10.5 sneak attack damage on average. So he's doing better, still not as good as him, but the Vivisectionist clearly is the winner. Not enough to really merit any kind of competition, but by and large he's still better, technically speaking. Now, watch this. We crit with that Shocking Grasp through the Kukri. The Shocking Grasp damage on average is doubled, right? Like always. They're all going to be the same, so nothing changes there. Here's our weapon damage. 43.5, 21, 21. Why are the numbers so drastically different? 10.5 is doubled. 21. 10.5 is doubled. 21. That's all these guys are getting. Still a respectable hit of 56 damage, right? This one here is 78.5. Why? Because 43.5 is not double the 14.5. Remember, we're critting, and on a crit, for this category at level 20, we do triple the damage, right? Remember, the Weapon Mastery, I think, is the level 20 ability that a Purist Sword Saint gets. It increases their chance to crit because it confirms all critical hits, and then it also does a +1, or increases the crit range from times whatever by another 1. So if it was ×2, it goes to ×3, which is the case for a Kukri. If it just happened to be a ×3 weapon, it would now be ×4. You get the idea. So we're doing 3 times the damage on the crit instead of 2 times with that weapon strike now. Again, pretty badass, and clearly pulling ahead in the lead. Critical hit on a flat-footed target gets nuts. The electrical damage is the same. The weapon damage is hugely different. This one's the same, 21 and 21. You can see the sneak attack damage now because they're flat-footed, so they do get that. So they do keep pace with their traditional way of doing damage. But this one skyrockets. Why? Because it's flat-footed again. So instead of 3 times 14.5, it's 3 times the 26.5. Remember, that's that plus 12 that we're getting to our intelligence bonus, added because it was a flat-footed target. And we're doing 3 times the damage because it was on the crit. So 36 gets added. Huge bump, right? That's why this one's 114.5 average damage per hit. So you can clearly see, for just swinging through your weapon, the Purist Sword Saint is the clear winner. But not always the case. Well, A, there's this, but B, look at this category. And just for reference, we did Snowball, and this could be any melee or ranged touch attack. But since a melee touch attack normally focuses through your weapon, the only way to make this work for a melee touch attack would be to either A, turn it into a ray spell through like Reach Meta Magic, or B, shut off your spell strike, which we mentioned already in this slide presentation. So this could be Snowball, this could be Shocking Grass, this could be any ray spell or melee touch attack spell that you have access to. Just make sure the spell strike's shut off, okay? And then see what happens. So here's Snowball, just for frame of reference, because we don't have to shut off anything. You can leave them running. It will do cold damage. Because it's point blank range, we get a +1 to it. So instead of doing 17.5 like it should do, it gets a +1 to it thanks to point blank shot. But they all get that same because they all had point blank shot in their build. No big deal. Then has cold damage. Now we have weapon damage, and we saw that up here, so nothing's changed. Weapon hits, weapon hits, weapon hits. This one's slightly better because of weapon specialization and greater weapon specialization. Again, it's in the lead by 4 points, but just barely. Right? Target is flat-footed. Again, cold damage, weapon damage goes up 12 thanks to our intelligence bonus and the target being flat-footed. So this one's doing okay, but now watch where this one really freaks out. Because each of these are a hit. The Snowball has to hit check, and your weapon has a to hit check. Because of that, you do sneak attack damage if it's applicable when the target's flat-footed 2 times. Once for the Snowball, once for the weapon. And the Snowball one will do its elemental type of damage. So we get cold sneak attack damage here. It's 17.5 on average. Our weapon damage is 10.5 like normal. 17.5 sneak attack weapon damage. So we have a total of 64 average damage on this 2 hits. Pow pow. Over here, again, it's actually beating this guy at 50. It's still subpar compared to this guy, but you can see how Eldritch Scoundrel is now making a case for itself, right? It's definitely better. And that's still pretty baller. And remember, Eldritch Scoundrel can cast Snowball spells. Vivisectionist cannot. So again, we have even extra spells to slot if we want to. That's again another reason I like Eldritch Scoundrel. Now look at here. Crit hit on the Snowball, not the weapon strike, just the Snowball, the very first swing. 37 damage, 37 damage, and 37 damage. Why? Because it's double the damage. That's what you always get on a crit for a melee touch attack or a ranged touch attack. Double damage, 37, 37, 37, all the same. Weapon damage is the same, so again, he's in the lead by 4 points. Again, nothing surprising here. But now again, if the target's flat-footed, it's a crit hit, again, just with the Snowball, not the weapon, the Snowball. Look what happens. 37, the weapon damage goes up a bit, 63.5, not bad. Here it is, it crits, so we get double the damage for our Snowball. We get cold sneak damage in on it as well, weapon damage, and then sneak attack weapon damage, 82.5. Very nice, right? And again, this one here pulls ahead of this guy. Again, you see the same trend, that if it's a chance to sneak attack, the sneak attackers are always going to do more damage in this scenario. Not in this one, because as you see, this flat-footed one on the crit on the weapon, these guys did respectable damage. He's king of the world over here. But flat-footed isn't the only way to do sneak attack damage, and this is the only way to get this massive damage bump is by critting and having a flat-footed target, so that's really limiting him. So what does this all really tell us? For the Purist, it's almost always better to melee, and it's almost always better to channel your melee touch attacks through your weapon, which makes perfect sense. It's what Sword Saints do. That doesn't mean you have to use your weapon for that reason. You can just attack, attack, attack. There's nothing wrong with that. If they're flat-footed still, you're getting a huge bonus, so go greater in Viz and shred those bastards with 2 weapon-wielding kukris. You will have a ball. For the sneakers, it's almost always better to cast a ray spell. Actually, it's almost better to cast any attack roll spell. So that's a melee touch attack or a ray spell, and then attack with your weapon, not through the weapon. Because the more attacks you get, the more chances of sneak attack. That's what we're basically telling you here. So if you can set up sneak attack consistently, prescient strike or prescient attack, what's it called? I don't want to say it wrong. Prescient attack. Prescient attack is a good way to set that up. So if you can set a prescient attack and then ray spell to the face and then cut with those kukris, you got sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack 4 times if they all hit. Snowball once, or melee touch attack for that matter, once, and then 3 weapon strikes. Boom, boom, boom. Sneak attack 4 times. And for the Vivisectionist, who gets 5d6 damage per sneak attack, forget about it. That's some huge damage output. 5d6 times 4, guys. That's 20d6 of sneak attack damage in a combat round just because I pressed prescient attack and went to town with a ray spell and then a weapon to swing. And a really good one, because you're going to, again, equip the best kukris for this build. There's a kukri in this game, or couple, that do 6d6 of extra damage on the first strike in a combat. So literally, if it's the first time I'm hitting you in the face with this kukri, I'm guaranteed to do another 6d6 of damage. Throw that in with your sneak attack damage and everything else, and just watch the numbers fly off the bad guys. So this is why we went ray spell touch attacks for point blank range. And I know that sounds silly, because everyone's going to be like, well, yeah, but you're going to run out of it, and then the Purist is going to be better because, you know, yes, he's master of the weapon, and everybody's now out of spells. Yes and no. Remember, we went ray spell master. That's every ray spell. That's even the cantrips, like Acid Splash, like Ray of Frost, which the Purist would have too, but he doesn't have the ability to sneak attack damage with them. These guys do. And if you want Eldritch Scoundrel, not only, sorry, I forgot, Disrupt Undead, another ray spell, that's cantrip. But Eldritch Scoundrel even gets the extra one, the one that's missing. The Electrical Jolt, I think it's what it's called, which is a cantrip, so electrical damage. So I can do cold damage, acid damage, or electrical damage with nothing but leaving that toggle on for Acid Splash, Jolt, or Ray of Frost to every target I hit. And if I'm sneak attacking, that's 1d3 plus 1 damage because of the point blank shot, and then the sneak attack damage thrown in there to boot. And it's the elemental type we're talking about. So again, as a Vivisectionist, let's say I do Acid Splash. As the Vivisectionist build, I Acid Splash you in the face. I happen to be invisible, so sneak attack goes off. I do 1d3 plus 1 damage on the attack, and then 5d6 sneak attack acid damage to your face. Tell me that doesn't sound appealing to you. And again, you can buff up better with the Vivisectionist than you can with the Purist. You can buff up a little bit better with the Eldritch Scoundrel than you can the Purist, but you can definitely have more fun with damaging spells if you went Eldritch Scoundrel and Sword Saint combined, in my opinion. So the take-home message is ray spells to the face if you go this weird builds, melee, melee, melee if you're going to go the Purist. And I think that you'll be happy with either. I think both are capable of soloing, by the way, at least for a long while. The Purist definitely, but the two Vivisectionists or Eldritch Scoundrel builds, I think will still make it. In fact, they have probably a better chance, especially as the Eldritch Scoundrel with that uncanny dodge is going to come in super handy. But yes, you are going to be missing out on some of those higher level spells. Just keep some scrolls handy. Cast it from a scroll, cast it from a wand. That's perfectly valid, and something I didn't pick when we did feats. When you get stuff like, where is it? Arcane Accuracy and such, I could have taken things like Wand Wielder, Wand Mastery. That's, again, viable choices. I'm not telling you how to pick those things. That's on you. I picked this just to point out that I can bump my attack by 12 at level 20 with this maximum build for one combat round. And if I'm dual wielding kukris, that's 5 attacks a round, maybe 6 if I have a speed one, which I probably will. So let's just say I have 6 attacks in a combat round that I'm swinging with a plus 12 accuracy. Then you're telling me I'm not going to land a few of them attacks extra special? That's pretty badass. So again, I think this makes it worthwhile. But with that, my name is Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.